Welcome, everyone, to First Strike 6, Licensed to Strike. My name is Cameron Davis, and I'm joined by HDphilly B, and we are going to be bringing you tonight's best of 3 semi-final between TF2 Boomers and Goat Block Gangstas. It's going to be one best of 3 tonight. We have another semi-final that is also happening at the same time. That is Melee Creeps versus Merc Takes Bub Shots. Unfortunately, that one's not going to be on broadcast, but whoever wins tonight between each of those two separate best of 3 is going to meet tomorrow into the grand finals for the full $100 prize pool. Very straightforward format, right, Philly?
Yeah, it's a best of 3 here. So you got to win 2 of these games, and you move on to that grand final match, which will be played tomorrow right here on Colossal Tournament at 9 p.m. Eastern. Gangster team, you actually know these guys. This is Smirk Cat from the New Blood Bash tournament that we had here on Colossal Tournaments just a few weeks ago. Kind of rechanged the name, rebranded, but it's a lot of those players you know and love. And then TF2 Boomers, a squad you've seen probably on a Deadlock Fight Night on Wednesdays. So another squad here, another team that's been in the business. They know what it takes to win some money.
Yeah, because I believe we are still waiting for the draft to get prepped. I do want to do just a quick little extra housekeeping. We're spinning up more and more events here on the broadcast. So not only do we have First Strike 6 that you're watching tonight as well as tomorrow night, we also have Blood Bash 2 in March 8th. We have First Strike 7, No Strikes Barred, March 20th and 21st. Those are the ones that are planned. We're also hoping to do some streamer-only events. So if you are a streamer and likes to play some Deadlock, or even just interested but you haven't played before, come and join the Discord. Links in that should be in the chat and the bio and all around stuff that I'm not touching, not my responsibility. Go and join, and hopefully you can get involved that way. But yeah, I think that's all the housekeeping that needs to get taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, FalseNat is a community guy. This is what he wants to do. He wants to grow Deadlock, right? It's not just like, hey, let me get money or views or whatever. He wants to grow the community because he truly loves this game. He and I chat on a daily basis, and he's been cooking up ideas for months now. And this like the streamathon where he wants to have different streamers come into the channel, play games against each other, promote themselves, is all part of that grassroots community to build this wonderful game. So I couldn't be more happy to be a part of Colossal Tournaments. And First Strike, of course, he has the best names for each one of these.
Yep.
Now I want to see how long you can go with all these great titles.
Listen, there's no end to it. Trust me, as someone that has tried to run some, I mean, I successfully ran some tournaments in the past, but one of the worst things about esports is how everything is an acronym. Everything is a fucking acronym with barely a number of whichever it is. You're lucky if you get the year within the name itself. Can we please bring some fun back into esports? And so this being First Strike 6, Licensed to Strike, is step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cameron, for folks that don't know, you're a pretty big deal in the PUBG scene.
Oh, God.
That's right.
Oh, God, yeah. No, I am. But hey, listen, no need to go on any tangents. I believe we have the draft ready to start. So let's go look at that. I'm sure that's a lot more interesting than me talking about a game that... There's some player crossover. But no, not exactly. Not exactly what the viewers are here for necessarily. But already we see a Paradox ban right off the bat. That doesn't surprise me at all. There seems to be about 4 or 5 heroes that dominate the pick ban. Yeah, and the other one is Holiday. Those two, they're basically interchangeable with each other, but their engage ability, they're either first picked or first banned. You rarely, if ever, see otherwise, at least in North America.
Yeah, I mean, in a game, in a MOBA, right? Dying is everything because that allows the other team to take objectives, move across the map, etc. And these two characters, Paradox and Holiday, excel at that. With the lasso, with the swap, you can displace somebody and take them where they don't want to be. So these two squads taking that off the board. Mirage, the first pick here. No surprise.
Yeah. Mirage is also a really common topic. Just the global presence of the Traveler ultimate ability makes split pushing really powerful. Oh, you think this is a 6v5? Think again. Bam, 6v6 with the fire rate buff that comes along with it. Wraith, not as much of a priority pick at the top level that we see through recent tournaments, but still not a pick that I'm surprised to see early on.
Yeah, I actually really like the Wraith. I think she's a good gun carry. That's kind of where you're going to want to put her. She can play in the solo lanes, the sides by herself. You can put her in the duo lane, combo it with another support or like Ivy or something like that, and really excel. So I really like this pick early on. You are kind of showing your hand a little bit. Normally, I like to see her in the third position right before the next phase of bans. But I think both of these teams, right, they have some experience on this stage of playing in tournaments, but sometimes there are specialists on your squad, and you want to make sure if there's some comfort picks that you have in your team, you want to secure them.
When it comes to roles, I'll hear people talk about like, oh, you got to have a support, you got to have all those things that we're so familiar with MOBAs especially, but also just any sort of hero-based shooter or hero-based title. But I think in this game, not only everyone has a gun, first off, so everyone's going to do like a minimum amount of damage. There isn't going to be just someone who's a heal bot, right? And then the diversity that items allow you to build mean that the flexibility between the units, I honestly think, as long as you have an idea of like, one, how the team composition works together and have at least like one person that can kind of stand in the front and be more of a traditional tank, really playing into your player comforts is probably more important than having a composition that looks like a traditional sort of like carry tank support lineup that we're so used to from other titles.
Yeah, and I do see that the Sinclair is picked up here. Sinclair, was introduced to the game. Everyone was like, what the heck is this guy? They had to adjust him, add some sound effects.
Yeah.
And then in the last fight night, just stormed on the scene, and Litz was just lighting it up there in the EU region. A great support this guy can be, really, with the Vexing Ball to do the amplified damage, the bunny, to lock down a lot of people and change them up. So I actually really like this, but he's a very hard character to play, so it could be to their detriment. We'll see how it goes. On the flip side, Kelvin and Vindicta picked up.
Yeah, listen, if you pick Sinclair, that's showing that you have comfort with a lot of characters, because stealing their ultimates, you better know how to use them. But hey, Kelvin being one of the two picks from the opposite side now, that is a really good ultimate for Sinclair to steal. It is such a good generalized ultimate. Vindicta, I wouldn't necessarily expect Sinclair to pick that assassinate too often, but who knows? It would be probably one of the sickest highlights if it happened. It's going to get answered by Calico, those two previous picks now on the opposite side. So now it's going to be all three of the OP new additions to the game that have been seen already. Holiday Band, Sinclair, and Calico picked. Viper, are we going to see the fourth? Probably not, but a man can dream.
Yeah, I don't think so. Viper, very much a glass cannon. They want to play in an advantage state, meaning they want to be ahead in the game. If they get behind it all, they can't take these 1v1s that they really like, where they can slither up to somebody, bump the cooldowns, just burst fire them and take them down. So Viper, pretty tough to fit into a composition. We're seeing the bans come through here, and it's a quick 1-2. No thought about it. The 7 locked down, and the Warden. We will not see them in the Curse Apple tonight.
Yeah, 7 came out of nowhere. We didn't see 7 played. I mean, 7 would be in most of your pugs, most of your solo queue games, even on the higher levels, even though there's something about that hero that just screams bronze to me. I don't know what it is. It's because like you hit one button and you get 6 kills with it. That just like screams bronze. But all of a sudden, has become another priority pick. And so not surprised to see 7 on the ban list. Now, Lady Geist, yes, now being pulled in as well. This, I am surprised to see this so far down. Lady Geist in some more previous competitions tends to be higher up on the priority list. But regardless, a really good frontliner to give Calico and Wraith the space that they need to go for those picks. Because it's really looking like Total War, whichever team that is going for more of a pick-based composition, whereas Fickle Frog, that seems to be a little more team fight based. Again, things can change. You can build items differently, yada yada yada. But just off of first glance, that's kind of where my mind is going.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the drafts to hash out here a little bit. There's a lot of single target damage coming out from Fickle Frog with the Assassinate and from the Mirage. But on the side of Total War, I think they're locking down their two side lanes. I think they're going to put Lady Geist in one and Wraith in the other. Now it's what do they decide to pair with the Sinclair in the middle and the Calico as well? Because I'm imagining Calico to be in one of those two middle lanes and then kind of rotate out and stem the tides. They could then pick an Abrams as well to maybe put in the side lane and have Wraith and Sinclair work together. So they're really kind of hiding what they want to do with this Wraith, even though she was the first pick. On the other side, though, the Viscous, such a strong, gooey man. I like the way, I like his style. Definitely going to be playing in one of those two middle lanes here, probably paired up with the Vindicta.
Yeah. I mean, the order is different, but if you've watched any previous competitions, like the Fight Nights, it's basically these exact same heroes. I'm guessing we're going to see potentially an Abrams, a Lash, an Ivy. Those are usually, and Yamato. I guess those would be the top four, or I guess Great Talon and Bebop. So I okay. That's my guess. That's my guess. Wait, no, there's also Shift. Okay, no, there's a bit more opportunity than I'm giving them credit for, but a lot of these heroes are seen on a regular basis.
I would love Fickle Frog to pick up a true spirit carry because like a Great Talon or a Pocket that I'm seeing left, or Yamato if they have somebody that's carry they feel comfortable on. The Infernus you could play as well, but he really takes a lot to scale up into the game. So maybe not, but a Yamato or a Great Talon they have to pick up here at the end to diversify the damage. Right now they pick up the Ivy, another support here to probably stick in the middle lane.
Yeah, and just to confirm, we got to confirm with us. Between Fickle Frog and Total War, left is going to be TF2 Boomers, and right is Goat Block Gangstas. I didn't want to say anything. I assumed it was left and right. I didn't want to say anything without getting confirmed on that. But now we know. Ivy is now picked, and we got to wait for the final three heroes to get selected. So now with the Viscous and the Ivy, and now a Yamato, are we still leaning towards TF2 team fighting? Goat Block Gangstas, like individual pickoffs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the reason they pick off they got the Kelvin is for that counter dive. They know that the side of Gangsters, they want to kind of dive on them, aggress on them, press the pedal and move the issue. But if you go into a Kelvin with the Frozen Shelter up, it's hard to do, as well as the Viscous, right? You can puddle punch, you can roll away, things like that. I really like the fact that Gangsters took Yamato and Great Talon, two great spirit carries off the board. You really kind of hamstring TF2 Boomers into selecting the Infernus or possibly the Pocket. I wouldn't hate either Infernus or Pocket right now because you can stick them in one of the side lanes. You'd probably put Mirage in the other one. So we'll see what they decide to do here with this last pick.
Right. Now, going back to the conversation about support versus not, as much as you can build Kelvin, Viscous, and Ivy on the more damage... Sorry, that is the opposite of what Philly wanted on the side of TF2 Boomers.
Yeah.
Unless, is there a support build Haze build that I'm just not aware of?
No, there's not. The Haze, I'm looking like, who are you going to pick off here? Right? Are you going to go for Lady Geist? Are you going to go for Calico? Probably not. If you try to 1v1 Wraith, maybe early you can, but later on you won't. Yamato, the same thing. So the only thing is like, maybe you get the Great Talon, you silence him, you take him out of the sky and you kill him, or the Sinclair, but he could be shifty. So I don't know. The Haze for me, an interesting pick, but this is TF2 Boomers. They've been on the biggest stage in Deadlock, so they must have something up their sleeve with this character. Maybe it's a specialist.
Yeah, if anyone else were to pick it, I'd be a little more concerned. In fact, some of the recent Haze play we've seen in other competitions has been a bit of a letdown. But as you said, TF2 Boomers, they're not dumb. They've been in this game for a while, different iterations of the roster. Actually, I think I had said this before, but I believe recently on stream, Deathy acknowledged that he was the only TF2 Boomer left on the TF2 Boomers squad. So maybe they're changing their name. But regardless, they've been around. They had the foundation of the squad is one that is not silly. I don't know. My point is I'm excited to see what it can do. If it was any other team, I'd be a bit more like, ugh. But here, maybe they've got something cooked up. Like maybe there's something that we just don't know. Maybe putting all of their, or maybe like Mirage leaning spirit, Viscous leaning spirit? Are we thinking a spirit Kelvin carry out of the blue, catching them off guard? Like, why not?
Yeah, it very well could be. You definitely want to build Kelvin more spirit heavy so you can get the frozen grenade online, do that little extra healing. But I mean, they also have Ivy, so that's a lot of healing coming out there. I do like the composition from Boomers in terms of the rejuve take. You have the frozen shelter, you also have the stone form from the Ivy, so you can secure those objectives quite readily. But they have to be able to stem the tide, because Gangstas, they are going to want to hit the pedal quick.
Right.
I can't stress this enough. A lot of these hyper carries like Infernus that need to scale into the late game have kind of fallen off, and they really focus on the laning phase and early mid game to really get the ball rolling and secure the victory, because if you choke out the map from your opponent, there's really nothing they can do. So that's what the Gangsters are going to go for. Let's see if they can execute, because it is difficult to do.
Yeah, I think that watching the map and the macro play coming out from TF2 Boomers is going to be their win condition, because if they start to get disrupted, everything gets chaotic, and GOAT starts to find so many opportunities for 1v1 pickoffs, I feel like the game is going to run away from them just from the mass amount of damage that I'm looking on the side of GOAT. I'm not... listen, again, maybe builds are different here, but like I'm looking at TF2 Boomers, and that doesn't seem to be as high a like raw damage output as their opponents. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that it's going to be more of a team fight focus and need really good communication and controlling the map, which I do think this team composition can do well. But like, if the souls start to get out of hand on the opposing side, it's going to be difficult to claw back into it, I think, if momentum turns like harshly against them.
Yeah, communication is going to have to be key here for the side of TF2 Boomers, because they want to be able to, chain their abilities effectively to lock down some of these shiftier characters on the side of GOAT Gangsta. The laning phase, it's super important in every Deadlock match, but it's super important here for GOAT Gangsters to be able to get off on a good foot. I think based on what I'm looking at here, we'll probably have Yamato and the Geist in the outside lanes, and then probably Sinclair Wraith, and then Calico Grey Talon, or some iteration of that, and then allow those Calico to kind of roam around the map. So that's what I'm anticipating, but they have to secure the farm early, get some of those key items online, and if they win 2 out of the 4 lanes, I think they're going to be in a really good spot. So I'm looking at TF2 Boomers to kind of play safely during the laning phase, secure as much as they can, but don't go out of their way to do anything crazy. Wait for their specific item timings and allow Haze to kind of dictate the game.
Yeah, like or Vindicta as well, especially able to get even more resources with the assassinate eliminations. I don't know why. The night just started. Why am I flubbing my words now? Okay. Anyway, I believe the game should be starting soon. So we're just gonna be chilling here until it does. Just letting you guys know that we're on the way. That we're not just holding you guys hostage to talk nonsense.
Hey, I mean, taking the flight to the Curse Apple does take a little bit of time. We got to go through warp gates and all this stuff to get to this paranormal level. But something else to state is that the meta hasn't really changed. The last patch was on the 11th, so that was 9 days ago. And I think folks have kind of figured it out. Yes, Sinclair has thrown a little rabbit in here, so to speak, to change some things up in terms of that support role. But other than that, I think it's really a lot of the same in terms of what you'll be seeing. I really like Gangsta Cat's roster, because that's kind of the new thing that folks are doing, right, with this high-paced composition. But like I was mentioning, it takes a lot of skill and coordination to get that done right. And the way that TF2 built to counter it with Viscous and Kelvin, it's going to be tough to do. So those communications are going to have to be clean to get these 2v1s online and win out in those early stages of the game.
Yeah. I mean, again, because all we have really to go off of is the compositions right now. I can't think of I can't immediately recall a moment that these two teams have played each other, so I don't have that myself to go off of. It's purely the compositions. The one thing that I think I'd be worried about is on the side of GOAT Block Gangstas is with all of those heroes, do they start to run into concerns with soul distribution? Because the reason why hero-based games that have resources, thinking back into MOBAs, but also other titles that have their own, like you can define resources outside of like money and souls and stuff. But while I'm talking, I believe, did I just get word that it started?
Mm-hmm.
I did. Okay. Well, let's go into the cursed apple and see how this plays out. Again, the fact of the matter is, two very different compositions. This should make for a really, really exciting fight.
Yeah, I love it. I love the way that these two teams are going to clash because it's two very different styles of play. So we are certainly in for a treat. Okay, we are having the Wraith go on the outside lane. That's totally fine. That's something we were talking about at the beginning of the draft. It could be a possibility. They're matching that up against the Haze. They're putting a lot of pressure on this character to secure some farm early so that you can start snowballing into that mid game.
And yeah, you can see on lane 4, it's going to be Haze v Wraith. That is a solo queue lane that I have seen time and time again. But yet for any major damage to come out, we're seeing the usual harass. But a dive in by Mirage right in the beginning, and then fisticuffs on the opposite lane as well. Haze is running out, but Benes DLTTV does get the first elimination, the first kill of the match. Wraith 1, Haze 0. How much of a lead can they get off of this? Because again, this is the GOAT team. This is the team that we're looking to see if they can get a lead to really take the momentum early on.
Oh my goodness, that's probably the worst possible start you could have as the Haze. I mean, you get 2 waves, three waves like that, and that is a healing right immediately or another damage item that's going to help you scale even more. My goodness, that was quick. You saw those parries coming out all over the map as well.
Dude, 1v1s are some of the most exciting things to watch in this game. It's like a fighting game. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Kelvin and Ivy now sit in the same lane for the TF2 Boomers. Ivy's having to chill back and heal a little bit, get some extra healing from the creeps walking into the lane. But just looking at the soul distribution, it's not a lot, but it's already a 1k lead 2 minutes in. This could easily reverse around, but the tides are leaning the way of the goats.
Yeah, and I really like lane 2 here because Grey Talon offers so much poke, and if the side of TF2 Boomers tries to step up in lane, Yamato is there, just dash on them, power slash them, whatever. So they're really scared to do anything, and it's just two kind of quote-unquote support-esque characters here, so they're going to be really hard-pressed to secure some of this farm.
Hey, listen, don't undervalue Kelvin's damage in the early game, especially. It can be a lot if you're not expecting it. Again, this is, you got to start to consider and think of these heroes different from just like the I deal damage, I heal and keep you alive. Like everyone's gonna deal damage. Everyone's gonna be lethal in some way.
They can try to pin me down all they
Yeah,
I like that by Haze. Is getting that neutral camp as well, find the opportunity. That's going to be very useful to try and equalize the soul spread, at least in this one lane, already catching up, only about 500 behind, which really isn't that much if you think about it.
Yeah, that's about one tier 1 item, and I think that's fine. Yeah, a really heads-up play. Once the wave is pushed in under the Guardian, what resources can I consume for my opposition? So I really like that there. And we have the Viscous with the puddle, the goo ball, rather, securing that wave clear there and pressing up against this Guardian, really putting the Sinclair and Calico under pressure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, looking at the items of the Viscous, hold on a second.
Ooh.
Oh, and the diver on the side! Staying alive using the innate healing and perhaps some abilities as well. 70-88! The single-digit HP! How is Kelvin getting out? Still alive! Haze gets a trade on the other side of the map, but Kelvin... Oh, that is a squeaky bumhole if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, he'll be waddling away back to the fountain there to heal up and get something online.
Listen.
Restorative Locket, though, for him. He really wants to stay in this lane.
I half expected a pause for him to have to go change his pants because holy... And can you blame him? Everyone leaks a little piss every once in a while, am I right?
Absolutely, yeah. Just when you get pressed on like that, for sure. But still, that lane 2, man, it is still tough. We'll talk about lane 4. They've kind of evened themselves out with 1 kill apiece. Haze has gotten himself back into this.
Yeah. Really strong play to come back. Not getting scared, not getting ego pushed. Kelvin's back in lane, but immediately has to fall away again. Again, so much healing between Kelvin and Ivy, between the two of them. But the pressure is being put, answered back with a couple of samurai bombs. And they're going to back away. They're not going to overcommit onto the tower. Just keep buying up, keeping their items topped off. I know they've nerfed some of the tier 1 500 cost items somewhat recently, because there was a time that it was like, it really felt that those 500 cost items were very powerful for being able to buy them so early. You would just fill your entire, all 12 slots with 500 items before you even considered anything else.
Yeah, it's the restorative shot no longer grants that extra +3 weapon damage. The extra stamina no longer grants 4% fire rate. Ammo scavenger, which everybody seems to be getting, no longer or has reduced stacks, etc. So you're absolutely right, but still, those items are so strong for keeping you in lane. It's hard pressed not to buy them.
Yeah, they just don't necessarily do everything.
Right? Yeah. I would like to see the Calico make a rotation, but it's really hard for her to do so because this Viscous is just putting so much pressure. The Calico can't go help the Wraith over there. Even though they're still close in farm, you want to try to stem the tide, make sure that Haze doesn't come online.
Yeah. But hey, speaking of, like we said in the beginning, after that Wraith got the first kill, things could change. We already now have swapped back to a 2K lead for TF2 Boomers. Again, it's not a lot, but it just shows that one kill in the beginning is not the end of the world. It's actually quite easy to answer back from such an early death.
Absolutely. Seeing the Spirit Kelvin, as you mentioned, look, 4 items already locked and loaded in for that Kelvin. He gets the decay there, which means he really wants to put the poke on with that frozen grenade.
Quick little charge shot from Grey Talon, keeps Ivy honest, drops her down to about a third. Oh, and another great shot under the Kelvin, has to back away. Got the frozen footwork to get out of dodge. And the souls are relatively spread here. I mean, even between both sides of lane number 2. But the amount of poke that Grey Talon can put out, that Lady Geist can put out, I'm starting to think that it's gonna slowly fade the way of Goat Block Gangstas.
It could be. He got the restorative locket for that reason, though, because of the cooldowns from the charge shot and from Yamato, the power slash, crimson slash, etc. He can charge really quickly. So you saw him; he was really low, but then was able to use the locket to get back up. And the Ivy came in, healed him with the Covenant. So he really wants to stay in lane. But I'm just curious with the build, how is he going to scale up?
Oh god, you see how close it was, having to use the ultimate now just to get Ivy back up to full HP. That is a hefty use of a very important resource. Oh god, there's an engagement. It's 2 separate 1v1s in the lane. Kelvin is trying to put Geist out! And then in the air, Grey Talon, good damage. Ivy is diving below the bridge. This is going back and forth. I don't know who has the lead, but Ivy, I think, is going to try and get out of there. A good stall. Oh, they got a kill on Geist. I totally missed that. They got the kill. They got one, and they got out.
Yeah, which is super interesting because Geist and Yamato switched lanes. So Geist came over here, but then Yamato didn't stay. So they were able to still be in a 2v2 situation, and Geist, wants to play that fine line with their HP pool and paid the price for it. But maybe they're finding something here that, like, hey, Yamato, I think you might have a better matchup here against the Mirage right now. Let's switch it up, see if you can get some farm. Like you were talking about, that soul distribution, so important.
Even though these engagements are not directly related at all. Hold on a second. We have a dive in. Kelvin rotate on to lane number 1. Yamato forced to use their ultimate, the Shadow Transformation, just to get out. Tornado comes on in. They're keeping up the fight. The Kelvin with the Ice Spray. They want to keep putting pressure on this Guardian with the dive in, with the ropes. Yamato doing a really good job playing this 1 versus 2, getting both of their opponents down very, very low. Mirage gets behind cover just in time to avoid a bulk of that damage, and that Guardian is still standing.
There's still action across the map, my friend, and a vicious leap there from Calico secures the Gargoyle. She is not long for this world. I really love the way that Yamato played that, saving the Crimson Slash to turn the tides, because they were like, oh, we have her on the ropes. Crimson Slash, heal up, then dive back in, do a little extra damage, and force them back away from your Guardian. Well done from that Yamato.
Yeah, we have one Guardian that Amber have lost, and the 1v1 in lane 4 is happening once again. You cannot keep these 2 heroes away from each other. Oh god, and now Yamato's heroes would have finished what Wraith started. LGTK taken down. it's the isolated fighting across the map. Now that more and more of these heroes on the side of Goat Block Gangstas have items and those power spikes, we might just be seeing heavy pressure on any of these solo laners. So we could see Boomers try and go in with some more team fighting. We actually have a big puddle fight here. Viscus comes on in, continuing with this 1v1, and then we have the great magnificent Silco to steal the puddle orb, and it's all chaos. Mirage is down.
I love this, my friend, because the lane 4 with the Haze, that is the person you want to target, right? Like we've been talking about all game. You've got to keep the pressure on the Haze so they can't get farmed, they can't get their foothold in this game. Let's take out their Guardian first and foremost, because the side lanes are the easiest ones to get, so that she doesn't have the space, doesn't have the comfortability to keep that farm up. So a really good rotation at the end of the laning phase here for Goat Block Gangstas.
I mean, Soul's still equalized. And it looks like a lot of the towers, the Guardians, are also equalized. Mostly, not exactly, but somewhat. So no one has a good lead right now, is what I'm trying to say. Kelvin in the sky, Spirit Kelvin indeed, getting some damage in. Spirit Owl comes out. Caleb goes down in return in response, and now they're diving in on Sinclair in the back line. Uses the ult. No, that's actually a counter ultimate from the Sinclair, but it does not matter. Kelvin knows the cold, is born in the cold, lives in the cold. You just... what's the Bane quote? If I were
I was born in it, you're just...
Yeah.
merely a visitor or something like that. You're right. I got you. Ooh.
You didn't even get it right, but hey, it doesn't matter. Everyone knows what we're talking about. It's one of the most quoted lines in film history. But God, the fighting just does not stop!
That's the game of Deadlock, my friend. There, as soon as that laning phase is over, it's just an all-out brawl across the map. The urn, I believe, is about to be picked up here for the side of Calvin. He's going to make that dash across the map.
Let's take out Yamato.
Trying to get a little bit of a speed boost with the walking on ice, the ice path ability. Any way to increase your speed to deliver the urn from one side to the other, you're going to want to take.
Yeah,
No one will. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Goat Block Gangstas, they're in position to contest this. Wraith is watching, but TF2 Boomers, they're all grouping up. They're all following the Kelvin as they go on into the drop-off point. This could be a fight that breaks out. Sinclair is ready to take this fight. Steals the ultimate, has the Ice Dome once again. But Yamato going down, that might pull the trigger on them trying to get out of there.
Yeah, that's definitely a pick you don't want to have right now. And with the Frozen Shelter online for both sides, it looks like it was used there for Sinclair, but the urn easily delivered there for the side of TF2 Boomers. Guys, this is exactly what we didn't want to see, this composition falling behind here for Goat Block Gangstas.
I blinked, and it's 9-10k soul lead. I mean, and only a portion of that is going to be from the urn. Every single interaction, the further into the game you get, hold that thought. Speaking of interactions, including a potential kill into Calico, Caleb is very low. Viscous trying to dive past into the walker. The punch does not hit, but he is not deterred at all. Swinging on in, gonna the cube himself for greater safety, but great Talon is here trying to answer back. Spirit Snare delays movement a touch. But now Yamato swings in from the side, focusing on Mirage. Good damage, but not a whole bunch of it just yet. Really, the name of the game right now is to protect the Walker, but unfortunately, they weren't able to do even that. And TF2 Boomers, after that long-winded interaction, they're gone. They did not lose a single person. They got a kill, they got a Walker, they pulled a lot of bodies over to that lane, and then they just get out of there for free.
And most importantly is that they bought space for the Haze over there in lane 4 to just secure, I think it was like 2 or 3 waves. So they are at 14k. They are right back into this. The TF2 Boomers, they are feeling very comfortable right now in terms of the macro of the map. They're showing why they are on the fight night stage here. Just an expert play from that.
Yeah. It's like we were postulating at the start. Despite the raw damage numbers head-to-head not looking as high as Goat Block Gangsta's team composition, we expected TF2 Boomers to be able to out-macro them with this team composition, but also just as a team with their pedigree coming into this event. It's still in the early days of Deadlock, so things can change. I mean, we saw Hydra Nation lose a tournament just 2 weeks ago, so you can never guarantee anything. But this is kind of playing out how we expected, more or less.
I would agree, especially with the Kelvin and Viscous pick and the Ivy as well. There's a lot of healing, a lot of sustain. So if you can't burst, the goats want to burst down targets, and if you can't do that, you blow all your cooldowns, and then you're a fish out of water. There's nothing you can do. You're just waiting to die. So here we go. The Vindicta is in.
Ooh, they got one kill. Sinclair is gone. Whatever ultimate they might have chosen is no longer in play. And then Kelvin, Ivy combo, wombo combo of death and destruction. They're supposed to be supports. They're supposed to be healing. Well, they're not healing you. And they're continuing to dive in. Vindicta is also there. They're struggling to finish up and get the kill. The damage numbers aren't really going as much as they would have wanted to. Yamato's dropped low, but so has Vindicta. Has to get out of there. Chased down by the Calico. We could start to see some trades, but Yamato has gone down. There it is. Vindicta does get eliminated. Finally, a kill going the way of Gangstas, but the 1v1. Haze has gone to the fight. Punches coming out. Blocks attempted. And Calico goes down. That is 4 kills total for that long fight. And the lead is only getting further ahead. It's now up to 13, 14, 15K lead for TF2 Boomers.
Yeah, definitely getting a little bit scary, not totally out of hand, because there's a lot of souls still locked up on the map in these Guardians and Walkers, so if you can get some of those down, you'll be right back in it. But I love the way that they took that fight, because they took Ivy and Kelvin and just said, run at them, heal each other, almost like in Marvel Rivals, like triple support meta, just pop your ult and stay alive. But
please,
it's like,
no.
That's what they did. And so the other team had to utilize all the resources, just like we talked about. And then Haze came in on the back end and said, okay, pop, 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 everybody dead.
Oh my God, we're not done. We're not done. Everyone's going to be dying again. Okay, I think Vindicta might have just sent an assassinate shot into a wall, but looking to have another go at it. Doesn't matter. Haze is there. LGTK still harassing the Wraith. Post-laning phase, it does not matter. That rivalry will never end.
And I love it. And this is now a scary point here if you're Go Block Gangsters. The Haze has gotten kill after kill. They are feeling really farmed up. They're going to feel ballsy going into any engagement.
Woo! Calico baited out the stun, was able to dodge it, but the follow-up damage that returned after the fact is a lot. And then the flanking Mirage, the sleep dagger from the Haze. The pressure is intense for TF2 Boomers. Every single time Go Block Gangstas, it looks like they're, for the last couple of minutes at least, they're looking to make a play. It just gets shut down, and Tai Chi style reverted, that momentum reverted back into their face.
And I like the way that the Kelvin's kind of taking himself out of the fight by holding the urn, but he's taking pressure, right? He's allowing the Walker to go down on lane 4, allow for some of those engagements to come through, because they have to kind of put some numbers over here on the left side of the map to protect this urn run. They can't let this come through.
I'm almost tempting them, almost baiting them to engage. And with a 23K lead, that is such an easy use of your own resources. Like, resources are more than just souls. It's also timings. It's also cooldowns. It's a number of different things, right? But, like, TF2 have full control of the game at the moment, though. It does look like they might have found an Ivy 3v1. I don't think Ivy's going to get out of there. A little bit of a mistake. And now with the rope grab, that is it for Ranger. Is there going to be a follow-up from TF2 Boomers? Vindicta damage is looking to try and grab some victims. Sniper shot doesn't exactly land, and we do get a pause mid-fight. Wraith did go down. So far it was 1 for 1.
And my friend, you'll take that every time. I mean, just your quote-unquote support, who's at 17K souls nonetheless, for the carry of the opposite side with the most souls on their team. I mean, that's an easy trade. You love to see it. What's really concerning me here I'm going to call him GBG, is that Verdant on the Geist is at 13K souls. Geist doesn't want to play from behind. You want to be able to step up to people 1v1. They need to be scared of you. At a 13K, they're really not that scared. And she's building gun instead of spirit. I'm a little bit suspect on that nature. So we'll see what happens with that. Looks like we're about to head back into the game.
See how this fight continues. TF2 Boomers, they are continuing the push. But it looks like Geist is looping around, taking the urn. They might just be giving up some of this, whatever lane damage TF2 Boomers are going to be following up with to perhaps secure their urn for themselves. But where this push is happening, that is directly on where their urn is. So I'm not exactly sure what the intention is. But okay, Sinclair stole Kelvin's dome once again, saves the walker.
Does he save it? It looks like it does go down just right there at the end, so that creates a lot of space on the map should they try to run this urn again. The puddle punch, though, comes clean.
They're not gone. TF2 Boomers, they are still pushing onto the fight. We have another base guardian that went down on lane 1. So while this fight is taking place, Gangstas are still losing parts of their base. TF2 Boomers doing a really good job of keeping the opposition here just to control everything, control all the timing, control all the movement, and now they are controlling their lives by getting more and more kills once again. I can't even do math at the levels that it's at. What is this? 25, 26k lead. That is huge at the moment. And with the state of the game space, well, the game state, and the fact that mid boss is being taken, that's not going to be contested because that would be suicide if they could even get here in time. I have no clue what GBG can do to save this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be really tough for them to do so. There's still a couple guardians still left on the map for them. The Yamato says, okay, maybe there's one walker down. I can maybe level the playing field a little bit. They do secure that good amount of souls for their squad, but at what cost? The mid boss goes down and the urn's about to be run home for a touchdown.
I think Yamato might be taken out. I'm looking at on the zip line, able to get past. Haze not in a space. Close, but not exactly in the space that they would have needed to be, it looked like, to stop that return to base. But now it's a fight over the urn. Ooh! The punch doesn't land. They're still looking to drop off the urn. They're kind of, again, using it as bait, using it to bring GBG into the fight once again, because you know GBG are going to be looking to avoid it. They know that they just cannot stack up band for band against TF2 Boomers.
And I would love to see the build for Kelvin at the end of this, because he's put through 3 urns. So he's getting 3 ability points, which is going to allow him to scale quite quickly. We've been seeing him use the Frozen Cannon a lot here in these engagements. One final walker. Will it be long for this world? Probably not.
When do we Mercy rule this? I mean, Barrage goes down. Okay, Barrage goes down. So there's something. Things are happening for GBG. It just always pales in comparison. Oh my, Bullet Storm. All these ultimates are being used, and it's all these heavy team fight ultimates. They are stacking them on top of each other. I don't think there's a single thing that GBG can do to stop 4 ultimates all being used on top of each other. Again, their team composition was all about picking off 1v1s, 2v1s, maybe even 2v2s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those 6v6s, GBG, they're never going to win that. There's just too much CC, too much sustain coming out from TF2 Boomers, and so they're just running away with this. The Patron is just getting deleted out here.
Yeah, God, I mean, Frozen Shelter and Goo Ball combined, that's just a nightmare of CC.
So with a couple members still coming back, the Patron is transforming. So with that, they will back off, probably clear some jungle camps, choke out the map a little bit more. I think the bridge buffs will be coming through in just a couple minutes as well. So yeah, firmly in control here are the Boomers.
Yeah. Clearing the jungle camps as you go. It's a small thing. It might feel like a small thing, but what you call it, choking out the map, like you just gotta remove every single source of souls or stats with the golden idols as well. You just want to make sure that you reduce the chance, however slim it might be, but you want to make it as small as possible of your opponent coming back. And as scary as it is for GBG to even leave the base, once they do, they're not going to be finding much of anything at all.
No, not at all. And that is really rough to be that far behind. I think Boomers, they're going to play this patient. They're going to wait for the next objective to come on the map, whether it's a mid boss or an urn, probably bait a fight, clean it up, and then run it down mid and just clean up the weakened patron from there.
Oh God, it's a 42k lead. 42k lead for TF2 Boomers.
What's also really tough, my friend, is there's no flex spots on the side of GBG because they still have 2 Guardians up, so there's a lot of souls that they can't spend.
Oh, that's even worse. Flex slots are incredibly important. Not so much that I had a friend that would focus on flex slots over anything else. You know, there are some considerations you need to make, but I understood the temptation when it began, but temptation to end the match is finally upon us. The weakened patron is down. TF2 Boomers making sure that they can eliminate the opposition and just make sure that they are not getting contested, but the glue ball swinging on in and the focus down on the weakened Sapphire patron. Multiple kills to boot. This should be a game unless a miracle happens.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's game here for the TF2 Boomers. They will take the match one with a bullet dance to the face of the patron. An easy victory for the veterans of the Deadlock scene.
It started off, well, no. It didn't even start off that shaky because sure, Wraith got the opening kill. That was the moment, the one, maybe 30 seconds that we were all, is the assassinate team composition? Are they going to run away with it? But they weren't able to really run much at all. Almost every single trade, not even trade, almost every single kill that happened got answered by the opposite side. Maybe it was on a different lane, but it just meant that TF2 Boomers, they knew how to match them. They didn't just give up. They did even more than being some sort of like iron wall where as long as we weather through the first 10 minutes, the laning phase, then we can play the game. They actually did a really good job of knowing how to push the limits of all of their heroes, even the more supporty ones, to get kills in the lane.
Yeah, I actually really liked, so lane 2, I was harping on it a lot because of the Yamato and the great Talon to put in a lot of poke, but there was just so much sustain. The Kelvin and the Ivy, they just tanked all the way through it. There was nothing that poke damage could do. They were just healing right up. So I really like the way that they stacked those two characters together to allow them to survive. And then they facilitated Fickle Frog. We've seen like a Warden kind of be in that capacity as well. Like Hydra from Hydra Nation plays a Warden that is a spirit carry, so to speak. And so Fickle kind of adopted that role and helped his team to victory.
Yeah. I mean, I think they kind of, the Kelvin and the Viscous, Goober and Fickle, I think they kind of shared the spirit damage output responsibilities. So, and listen, the game does not care where the spirit damage comes from. Damage is damage. Whether it's one person doing it all themselves, whether it's 2 or 3 players distributing it evenly. Just a really, really solid game by TF2 Boomers. It makes me curious on how Gangstas are going to handle the draft going into the next game. If they're going to go for something similar, or maybe they're going to trade out like 1 or 2 of their units for to make it look a little more traditional. Because it's not like their team comp couldn't work, but you do need to answer with what has been shown. It's a 1-0 lead right now for TF2 Boomers. We're going to go to a short break, and we will be back with the second match. Can Gangstas answer back and bring this into a 1v1, or will it be a 2-0 defeat? Who knows? See you soon. Welcome back to the show. Best of 3 between TF2 Boomers and Goat Block Gangstas. TF2 Boomers, a 1-0 lead right now. It started off pretty even, but then when they got things rolling, they ended it with like close to a 40k soul lead, I think, in a 25 or 24 minute game. So we'll see what Goat Block Gangstas does in game number 2, because not that it's our responsibility or even our prerogative to like tell these competitive teams what to do. But if you must hear my opinion, the team composition was very focused for Goat Block Gangstas on getting picks, and they just weren't able to get that lead in the laning phase that you would need to run that style. So, Philly, between the two of us, we're certainly curious on if they're going to try and run this again with maybe a couple of tweaks, or if they're going to completely pivot their style into a more traditional sort of like front to back macro, whatever you want to call it, team composition.
Yeah, I would like to see some more frontline from the side of GBG, maybe a Mo and Krill, maybe an Abrams, maybe I know the Warden was banned, but if it's not, pick that up. Take a Viscus away. The Sinclair for me did not work. Like I mentioned during the draft, he's a very difficult character to play. When you select him, you have to know what ultimates you're going to steal and how you're going to use them and play around that. In the laning phase, you have to be able to use the Vexing Bolt to facilitate your teammates, the assistant to put down some pressure. So there's a lot of mechanics with Sinclair. So I would like to see GBG stay away from them, pick something that's like a little bit easier to play, like a Kelvin, like an Ivy, something that you may have more practice on as well. So those are the 2 adjustments. Change your support, add a little bit more beef to your squad, and I think you'll do all right, because the Wraith was doing okay in farm for most of the game. And then obviously once it got to a point, it steamrolled. So
I don't agree. I think the Sinclair had a lot on their shoulder to try and turn some of the team fights, because stealing an ultimate, even if it's only going to be your mirror ultimate of what your opponent already has, that can still really change the fight. I think it's more so the fact that the Geist just didn't get up and running. We saw the Geist get absolutely demolished. Maybe not getting kills a lot, but like the soul spread in the Lady Geist solo lane was really, really bad, and I think had to swap with Yamato, but still wasn't really able to crawl back. But we're not playing, so they're certainly going to have we can only do so much looking at from the outside. But hey, we're going to go into draft. Let's see draft number 2, see what stays the same and what changes. Ooh, instantly, this is, GTG, they are banning the Mirage out. They felt that the ultimate, the Traveler ultimate from the Mirage was, my guess is, very strong in keeping them from getting those 1v1 picks that the composition was useful for, but by doing so, they left the paradox up, but they were able to secure it themselves.
Yeah, and I actually really like this because, like you were mentioning, the Geist fell behind, and it was because they were laning against the Mirage. The why Mirage is so powerful is because his lane bullying capabilities. And so bullied the Geist right out of there, put her in the disadvantage state. She couldn't play the game after that. So take that off the board. Maybe you'll play Geist again. But on the flip side, yes, you get the paradox, but on the flip side, you give the Kelvin again to TF2 Boomers, who just ran train over you, and then they secure the Wraith. In my opinion, one of the best carries in the game. So 2 really good picks right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious to see how the paradox is going to work. I can see a world that the paradox fits into GBG's game plan again with the 1v1 picks. Like, I guess in this case it would be 2v1 bullying because the swap back. But you get what I'm saying. Like, this is still potentially a team composition that would look to avoid 6v6 team fighting. And with the Kelvin on the side of TF2 Boomers, that's a powerful 6v6 hero. But they take the Vindicta, another swap of heroes between the 2 sides.
And you do love to see it because you want to see what kind of skills the teams are bringing out. And then the 7 picked up. I wonder if they'll go Spirit carry or if they'll go gun carry here. They'll probably put them in one of the middle lanes. A lot of his positivity is that he's good at jungle clear. But what happens when you jungle clear is you have that huge
electricity positivity anyway.
Well, he has a huge backpack of souls, but then it's like, oh, I need to rush to this team fight, and then you might die, and then you lose all those souls you just spent time gaining. So sometimes it's really tricky to have the good timing when you're playing 7. So GBG, they have to be careful with this pick.
Yeah. And now the Great Talon as well for TF2 Boomers. 6 heroes picked already, and only one of them is a mirror of the previous composition being the Kelvin. Wraith and Vindicta, Great Talon, all swap sides. Paradox 7, they're new. And we're waiting on the follow-up bans, the round 2 bans. And they're removing Viscous themselves, TF2 Boomers. They don't want to let that fall into the hands of Go Block Gangstas.
Yeah, and I agree. Take the beef off the board, right? Because what GBG was missing last time was that front line. And what you're kind of looking for right now is who's going to lane with the Vindicta or the 7, or if you put the Paradox there, right? Who's going to lane with there? Well, we know Viscous is a really great lane partner. So take that off the board.
Right.
Force them to go with Ivy or somebody else. So I think it's a really good ban here. We'll see what GBG decides to do. They take the Sinclair off the board. An interesting pick for me. I feel like there's better folks you could take away, but we'll see.
I see the threat of Sinclair because that is a Paradox and a 7 already. That's even before we see the latter half of the team compositions. Already 2 incredibly powerful ultimates that you want to be keep selfishly for yourself. So I definitely see it. It's not going to be like, you could tell they thought about it. It wasn't going to be like an insta, I'm going to smash that ban Sinclair button in the way that you would see the same for a holiday. But I get the theory behind it. So yeah, also should mention with the 7 in play, already GBG are approaching this game in a completely different way. 7's not a 1v1 pick-off type of hero. This match is going to play out so very differently.
It is. Definitely the Static Storm can do a lot of damage, but he can 1v1. He's got his own stun, right? He can put in some bursts.
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah. But you know what I mean. It's not a Wraith. It's not a Calico. It's not a Shiv. It's not a sack. I'm gonna jump out at you from the shadows like right. Yamato is. Like everyone can 1v1. I can find one specific scenario that a Dynamo beat a Shiv in a 1v1. It's like, yeah, great. You know what I mean.
Fair enough. Well, as we're talking, the Warden picked up. I really like that because last time he was banned. Warden can play in the side lane, can play in the middle lanes as well, and you can pair him well with the Vindicta. So I'm glad they took him off the board here. TF2 Boomers put it on the squad for themselves, add some more beef. Lady Geist, GBG trying it again.
Yeah, I mean Lady Geist is a very, very powerful hero. Didn't get rolling last game, but it's certainly a high priority pick regardless. And Mo and Krill, so definitely leaning even further into the frontliners. Mo and Krill can get a little bit of a catch, get a stun, pair that with the rope tether from Vindicta, and you are not moving.
And this is one of my favorite lane combinations is the Vindicta, Mo, and Krill. So if you put in the combo and then it lines them up for the Assassinate immediately. And that's a double scale, right? You get the souls from the Assassinate and the extra health bonus from the Mo and Krill. To round it out here, though, for TF2 Boomers, we have the Calico and the Bebop. These are 2 quote-unquote roamers. So I imagine them to be in the mid lanes, and then they'll fan out to the side. So really good picks. Bebop with the hook displacement. I mean, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, what do we got? What are we expecting here? Warden with the Calico and Kelvin with the Bebop?
Could be, yeah, because Kelvin can definitely stay in lane pretty heavily. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm trying to think about the side lanes. The Warden could go into the side lane and Wraith into the side lane as well. Keep Great Talon in the middle so he can get some of that farm and stay protected.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, again, there are so many different ways you can run this. They can swap it. They can start one way, 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, they can swap it. We're just randomly theory crafting here. But the levels of like 5D, 6D, 7D chess that these teams are playing on, they're going to have their own considerations and timings of everything. But we see the 6v6 team compositions facing us looking very different for both squads. Whereas the previous matchup was 2 very distinct hyper-focused styles for both teams here, TF2 Boomers and Go Block Gangstas. This looks to be more of a run-of-the-mill sort of like cut through the middle composition where it has assassination pickoff opportunities, but it also has huge 6v6 team fight ultimate opportunities. Just very flexible for both teams.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I still am going to give a slight edge to TF2 Boomers. I think with the Wraith online and the Bebop, if they can land those hooks, I think it's a really good combination there. On the other side, with the with GBG, they're still going to rely on some of that pickoff potential, right? Get a swap into your back line, then have the Mo Krill hold them down with the combo, and then the Assassinate or some combination thereof. So they're still going to really want to take these 2v1s, 3v2 kind of fights.
Right.
So we'll see if they can get it done this time.
Again, guys, TF2 Boomers, they have a 2-1 lead. So even just mentally, they're going to have an advantage coming into this match. I don't think people are aware of how much psychologically having an advantage or disadvantage on like the full-on like best of X leaderboard can do for you. Every single little mistake that GoBlock Gangstas comes across, depending on their mental ability, competition is a lot of mental, depending on their mental stability, could completely throw them. So hopefully they don't collapse, but TF2 Boomers, even ignoring the team composition, are going to have even just like a small advantage coming into this.
Yeah, mental fortitude and momentum, huge parts of esports. And so knowing that you kind of got rolled last time, doesn't make you feel good. You're kind of squirming in your seat. So it does change your draft style, because maybe you're like, okay, we need to go for your best heroes this time,
right.
and we'll make it work, right? Or you really try to step up and say, okay, we got this. Let's take this all the way to game 3. This is $100 on the line. So we'll see how they come out this time.
Yeah, that's another thing you mentioned, comfort picks. There are many times that backs against the wall. It's like, listen, these guys, they're a better team than us. This is a hypothetical conversation. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. Hypothetically, you could say the other team, they're better than us. They play the meta better than us. They have a better grasp on team compositional meta, everything than us. Pick the hero that you are best at and let us roll with it. We're going to let our individual abilities shine through and hope that our time together, our chemistry, can like elevate it into a way to crawl back. I'm not saying that's what GBG are doing here, just that is something that is not like that's something that we've seen in the past. So even for one or two of these players, a hero pick could be a comfort pick. But enough talking. We are going to get into game number 2 and really see how all of this plays out. We can theory craft all that we want. It's not going to mean a thing. It is all going to be here, chips on the table, chips on the board, in the cursed apple.
Okay, and we're seeing the Calico in the side lane. That's fine too. Doesn't really allow her to unlock as much. But if she wins the lane, that's fine too. Maybe that's one of their best players. They're like, okay, just diff this guy over here and make it work. So we'll see how this plays out. But the 7 in the solo lane, we've seen that time and time again. No surprises there.
Yeah, just the farm ability and the push ability. Give me all the souls, but Mo and Krill can push back quite early on. TF2 Boomers with the lead, it looks like, on a number of these early engagements. It's less than a minute. It's only just now hitting 60 seconds. So, let's not read into it too much. And yeah, the trades are now coming back. Warden's dropped low, down to about 250 HP. No soul lead is really starting to be noticeable yet. But God, Mo and Krill cannot catch a break.
Yeah, a lot of pressure from the Frozen Cannon and the Flask from the Warden, but it's another durable lane here coming out from the TF2 Boomers. The Warden and the Kelvin just so beefy there, so it's really hard for the Mo and Krill to engage. He's going to have to play patient, wait for that 3,000 soul mark, and that's when he's going to make his move.
Ooh, a lot of damage. Get behind cover before the stun really procs. Calico is staying alive and just keeping the pressure on. We saw early on when we pulled away and then came back that the 7 was having to hide behind their Guardian because the 1v1 ability, just the burst damage coming out from the Calico is a lot. Mo and Krill has to get out of there. A lot of damage traded from the Guardian and otherwise onto the Kelvin. Staying in the lane, using the med creep to stay alive, but so is Mo and Krill. No one is conceding yet here, but First Blood does come out. Double First Blood.
Sheesh, that is really tough, and we know how much poke that Great Talon has, and especially with the Bebop, let's say it was a hook into the charge shot, that'll take you down in an instant.
Oh yeah, Bebop is always going to be a major threat in the lane, and it's not the easiest to hide behind cover or allies or whatever you want to avoid that hook. You just got to be really reactive. always keep a stamina charge in the pocket when you're laning against Bebop.
Ooh, there he goes. We see Bebop now. He's maybe making a rotation, or he might rotate behind here in lane 2, or just feint and then come in for a hook. So we'll see if he can get a pick off here.
Well, we had a nice little flank coming out from Kelvin. That's the Lady Geist down, continuing to shut down that powerful tank, not letting Lady Geist get rolling. And then the flank coming in by the Bebop. A little bit of a feint. TF2 Boomers, they have a small soul lead, but it's a lead nonetheless. And lane 2 here is continuing to keep the pressure. Ivy and Paradox having to hide themselves behind the Guardian. And then back to Calico on lane number 1. They have a little bit of a soul farm lead against 7. It's really difficult to completely shut 7 out of farming. But any lead you can get, you're going to take it.
And going for a heavy melee build right in the beginning to sustain in lane, I really like that. The static charge, but even as he tries to approach, the shots to the face.
Yeah, and Calico playing around that corner very well, knowing how to stay safe once that stun does fully proc and come into play. This 1v1 very comfortable for the Calico. Elsewhere on the map, Kelvin still doing a lot of damage. I know Kelvin's a support, but in lane it's a monster, and now the Warden, single-digit HP for the Vindicta, avoiding the ensnare by the Warden, I think with like less than a second to spare. And is able to get out of there. Can krill survive alone?
A rotation coming out from the Bebop there. He was feinting it earlier. This time he decides to fully commit, takes down the 7 easily. Now he's just bullying into the Guardian. A nice play from him. I did notice the build from the Vindicta did go for the Hollow Point Ward. I'm not sure how much value they're going to get because they are being pressed up in the lane. A gank here from the Kelvin.
Lady Geist has dropped low. Wasn't able to get the soul transfer out in time, if that was even available. God, this Lady Geist just keeps getting bullied. Game after game after game. Hyper Beam comes out, answered back by Stone Form by Ivy, and whoop! The bomb and the punch, and down to double-digit HP. These trades are getting very, very close between both squads. Look at the the Calico, where'd they come from? With the return to shadows, the double kill, the single press of a button getting 2 kills.
A fantastic play, using the Ava form to make sure they're hidden on the map, sneaking themselves in there, just popping up, using the shadow form, bursting them down in an instant. A double kill here for the Calico and the Guardian to boot.
God, like, I'm watching, and I have like half an eye on the minimap at all times anyway. And even I thought the Calico was a teammate, was an ally for a brief moment. Oh, and more ultimates coming into play. krill is trying to answer back, even use their own ultimate, but not going to be the case. Oh, the TF2 Boomer lead, it's coming online even faster than the last match.
Yeah, like we were saying, there's so much beef here in this lane. That combo, assassinate combination, going to be really hard to last stand now here.
Can't quite get the Vindicta. And krill has returned to lane, so it stops any other shenanigans for from pushing too much. But they still were able to get, I believe it was the Paradox. And Ivy was dead as well. The death counts have got to be wild for it being only 6. Guys, it's only 6 minutes. It feels like it's been 10. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 kills already.
Yeah, that's like 2 kills a minute and no kills right now for the side of GBG. They need to get something on the board. Can they find the great Talon?
Paradox looking for something. Has to back away and get an answer back. A charge shot chunks them down very low. Death, he's able to secure that with the Calico even before the Ivy can get away, down to very low HP themselves.
Yeah, big yikes here, my friend, because the Calico is now at 5k souls, the Bebop as well. These are 2 folks you do not want to be ahead if you're facing them, because that just gives them free reign across the map. Another Guardian topples over here for the side of TF2 Boomers.
Hyper Beam is more damage, more suppression, more kills. I mean, why stop a good thing? It's just, there's not a single moment. Oh, and the grab too? Yeah, there's not a single moment that Gangstas can take a breath. krill, I feel like they just got back into lane and they're already gray screened once again.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, there was a death ball formation here. There are 4 folks for the side of TF2 Boomers assaulting this Guardian, and all the while it's Calco in lane 1 just pushing wave after wave, nobody contesting them. Their farm is escalating now.
Yeah, this is harsh. Return to Shadows comes in. That's a low 7. I don't think 7 can get out of there.
Ooh, man.
Staring death in the face, nothing to do but laugh.
Yeah, I applaud him for trying, but definitely with this far behind, buddy, it's going to be tough. So we'll see. Some of the objectives like the Urn and mid boss haven't come up yet, so that could be the way. There's always a way back in here in Deadlock. So you just gotta hold tight, stem the bleeding if you can here if you're GBG.
Right, but the only way that I can imagine GBG can come back into this is if TF2 Boomers gives them an opening, like an unforced error. But GBG have to recognize it and be in a position to take advantage of it. That's a lot of things that have to align for them to come back into this, because just in terms of the raw farm, you stick your neck out of the lane an inch too far to try and get some souls scattered around there, and you're just instantly dead. They're just trolling around the jungle, TF2 Boomers, looking for more victims. They're not stopping. At this point, they might have gotten more souls off of enemy kills than actual creeps or jungle. Moan Krill is about to go out once again. Paradox just got to live. Oh, okay, yeah, there they go. Lasted a second longer than I expected, but dead all the same.
Yeah, 2 go down here for GBG. They do get Talon in return across the map, but I think they're okay with that trade because they are just assaulting more structures here of the Amber Hand. I mean, that patron picked the wrong heroes to fight for him because they were just getting obliterated out here in the Apple.
Kelvin showing that he is also the 1v1 king. Well, I think that was actually a 2v1. I think Wraith was there too. But every single new screen we go to, it's another kill, it feels like. Warden is breaking that pattern by just getting some creeps and backing away. The one time that we've seen TF2 Boomers walk back towards their own base. That's the second time now with Bebop. That's it. Oh, no. Oh, God, no. Can't even get farm in your own jungle.
My goodness. Yeah, they're just going to run this one down. The last stand, is that being expended? Yes, it is here from the Warden, but it doesn't look like they're going to try to chase after this one. Oh, never mind. Yes, they are. The Paradox goes down.
Yeah, it might seem weird to use these ultimates so quickly, but they're getting so much pressure, and it really doesn't feel that it's going to be exploited. The lead that they have, even without a last stand available, a 6v6 is still going to be a huge advantage for a TF2 Boomers. So honestly, just there's no use saving these ultimates. Like this, I'm not arguing that you should save ultimates ever, but I'm just saying right now, it's just like you don't even have to think; just press the button.
Yeah, secure. You have the advantage. Secure as many kills as you can. Spend the ultimates. It's fun, right? It is a game after all, and you have at least 3K soul lead on anybody else on the opposite team. That's a couple items in the bank for you. You're feeling like a god out here in New York City.
Yeah, 23K soul lead sounds a lot. When it's a 23K soul lead at 11 minutes, when it is a 100 and close to 160% soul lead for a team, that puts it into perspective.
I'm glad you could do the math there, my friend, because I'm not a math guy myself.
I said I said close to. Like I'm giving myself a good bit of wiggle room there.
Chat, let us know if Cameron is correct. But right now, Amberhand needs to come correct if they're able to wiggle themselves out of this one. It is the Paradox going down again, my friend.
I don't even know what there is to analyze about this game. Like, oh, the team composition, this, item, timing, that. This is just a playground for TF2 Boomers. Hyper Beams being utilized because why not?
Yeah, there goes Verdant. It's LGTK is just that hyper carry. It must have been drinking like 5 Red Bulls before this because they are everywhere, finding every elimination. A big swap, but the Walker goes down, so he doesn't even care.
Yeah, the Walker damage is not there to take advantage of the Great Talon. And Wraith has gone down. Don't know exactly where that kill happened, so it's not nothing for a GBG. But that's yet another Walker being eliminated. Only one Walker remains, and not a single Guardian has gone the way of GBG. No, Bebop is getting isolated, is getting chased down, but now the Kelvin comes back. Ivy is trapped. Now Ivy is the one that is the prey. Zerbsy's gone down. Geist, Vindicta, they're all showing up. They're really trying to get some sort of trade here. And so Bebop does get eliminated. Kelvin's trying to get out of there. Less than 500 HP. He's going to hide in the corner and hope they forget about him. It's working so far. But hey, listen, GBG, they're getting something. Now they're losing other parts of their map in the meantime. So is it worth it? That's a different conversation.
Uber was just acting like a goon, being a distraction over there in lane 4 so that they could claim the final walker in lane number 2 and secure another flex spot for themselves. You can see here, Amber Hand has no flex slots available, so there's 3k souls on the 7 that he cannot spend. That is not what you want if you're trying to carry this game.
No, not at all. They got to find some way to stall this out and find some way to equalize the souls. But how easy it is when you have good farm to just barrel through towers. It's I cannot foresee a way that it's gonna happen. But hey, GBG, they're gonna try. They're gonna look for any opportunity, and heaven forbid they're gonna take it when they see it. They're gonna be forcing a fight around here, it looks like. They got one onto the Warden. They're about to go down to second kill. That's 2 for 0. We have an advantage. We have an advantage in a fight. How much more can they get off of this?
I mean, that was big. It was a combo into a stone form that claimed 2. That will be the first Guardian of the game here for the side of GBG, but they're losing base Guardians. That's not a trade you want to make.
But they're going to be losing those base Guardians anyway. You could argue, but Vindicta gets grabbed, and that is not good. You got to play safe. Was trying to play safe. Was trying to play at long range, but that hook has a long range of its own, and now they're able to find the Paradox caught out in the open as well. And only now was the raiding party of Goat Block Gangstas back on their own base. They're trying to clear it out, but while that happens with the man advantage for TF2 Boomers, they are going mid-boss.
Yeah, an easy call for them. It's like the base Guardians don't really do much for you. So take the mid-boss, get the rejuve online, get that extra move speed, regen, creep buff, etc. To push these lanes and just take this one home. So yeah, definitely firmly in control here are the TF2 Boomers. They've been in control since minute number 1.
Hey, look, an urn. That's like even more. Okay, wait. Buff. Calico buff. Survival buff, but still could be useful.
Mm-hmm. Especially on the Calico, man. The survivability, they want to be in that front line. They want to be attacking. So extra HP, they'll take it every day.
Oh, yeah, no one's going to turn down extra HP. No. I imagine maybe like gun or spear would make them burst even harder, but regardless, they're using that spear to good use. Oh, the soul swap, but they are not out of this fight. They return to Shadow. The Ivy swings on in. Looking for a way out of there, looking for a way to jump up. Wasting time. Staying alive. Okay, now, no, it was the Warden that was eliminated in the kill feed, but Calico is still taking this one. Where is Lady Geist? She's gone, leaving Ivy in this 1v1. That is not an engagement that Ivy is going to want to take, that is going to want to win, and Ivy goes down anyway. Seven's also been defeated, been destroyed, and with the Rejuvenators, and yet another urn dropped off. Like every single time that you think there's going to be an opening for GBG, they lose 3 times as much as they get.
Oh my gosh, like Spider-Man up here is this Calico just dashing in the air and taking out members. I really like that last engagement from the Calico, holding on to the leap, knowing that that will heal them. So after the soul swap comes through, they used it, healed up, and were able to get away. Now the Patron is under duress.
Ooh, 7 tries to ult. But it's just the damage really isn't there. It takes a lot of the members quite low, but it wasn't able to get the last hit on anyone, and baiting out the parry. That's going to put 7 into a sitting duck right now. And the Patron, attention back onto them. Transforming into the weakened version of itself, and Lady Geist is just trying to put up some form of defense. The respawns are coming on in. One final 6v6. The job is to defend the base, but... JK. Did I say 6v6? I meant 5v6. My bad.
There's not much of the base left to defend here, my friend, as there goes the 7 once again. He just can't find any purchase in this fight. This Ivy is not long for this world as well. The weakened Patron just getting absolutely eviscerated here.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's really difficult to stop the damage. You can't like, you can't stand in front of the patron and block it all with your body necessarily. So even if you're alive, oftentimes you can't do much but watch and have a single masculine or feminine tear roll down your cheek. And that's going to be TF2 Boomers with the 2-0 victory in the semifinal here tonight. We still have the finals tomorrow, and I believe we are still waiting to see who they will be going up against. Again, the other semifinal that is currently taking place is Melee Creeps versus Merc Takes Bub Shots. So, unsure what that scoreline is going to be, etc. But here are the stats from game number 2. The sole discrepancy is stupid. And that's like stupid with 2 O's.
It's pretty massive. I mean, the score can always be a little deflated, or inflated rather, because you're taking the shrines and the base gardens, etc. But yeah, I mean, they had this lead throughout the entirety of the match, and it just expanded upon it. I mean, how many did they ended up getting? How many kills towards the end? It looks like they had 5, 6, 7 kills total, whereas like the Kelvin Fickle Frog had 7 kills himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, GBG just couldn't find a foothold in this match.
Yeah. At least in the previous composition, the previous match, they were going back and forth in the lanes. At least the lanes were relatively even. Granted, that's not what their composition was playing for. They wanted to come out of laning phase with a pretty good lead, but contrasted to this one, it's not quite night and day, but pretty close to it. A dominant victory by TF2 Boomer. Still, well played, good attempt, all the accolades to go block Gangstas. They certainly did better than, I don't want to speak for you, Philly, but they certainly did better than I would if I were in that position. I'm way too old to be good at video games anymore, and that's implying that I ever was good at them. But man, TF2 Boomers, they're going to be waiting in the grand finals, and they're going to be licking their lips on who they're going up against.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm assuming it's going to be Melee Creeps. I think they have also some of that veteran playership to, you know, carry them to the grand finals. And if it's TF2 versus Melee Creeps, that is not a game you want to miss, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen them duke it out on Fight Night. We know how that goes. And now we have them here at Colossal Tournaments. They're going to be playing tomorrow night, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern for that $100 grand prize.
Yeah, exactly. And once that's over, reminder again, and we will be reminding you all evening tomorrow as well. We have Blood Bash 2 coming up. That's going to be March 8th. And then the 20th and the 21st is going to be First Strike number 7. No strikes barred. So, again, come by. Come watch the grand finals. But we have a lot more events coming up. This train is not stopping. I believe the plan is to host, for Colossal, to host a tournament every 2 weeks or so. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of wiggle room, but that is still regular content coming out from the great team behind us here. I believe that is it for tonight. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Tomorrow we have the grand final. My name is Cameron Davis. This is HDphilly B. And if my producers allow me to, I would like to say goodnight.
Bye.